We're going to be beginning today's practice in a wide-legged child's pose. So feel free to grab a folded up towel or blanket for some padding at the knees. So we're going to bring our knees to the mat or the towel, bringing the knees apart a little wide, toes touching in the back, sitting back on your feet for a moment and leaning forward, bringing your arms outstretched on the floor in front of you and your forehead resting on the floor. Taking nice, even inhales and exhales slowly through the nose and out the mouth. Feeling your ribcage expand and retract. Try to let your body sink heavier towards the floor between your thighs. Taking one more full inhale and exhale, you're going to press up onto your hands and knees, stacking hips over knees, shoulders over wrists. Curl your toes under and inhale as you let your back dip into cow and exhale into cat, letting your head hang. Follow your own comfortable breathing rate, making the movement into and in between cat and cow match your breathing. We're going to come back into tabletop with a neutral spine, and we're going to begin body rocking, sending the hips back towards the heels and away. The spine remains relatively neutral and quiet, and the movement is coming from the shoulder and the hip joints. All right, and let's widen those knees, bring the toes back together in the back, and sink back down into your wide-legged child's pose. Coming back to nice, even, deep breaths. And notice if you can feel the rib cage expanding and retracting any more or easier than before. Maybe your breath feels different. Maybe your body can sink down towards the floor just a little more. Maybe your neck feels more comfortable with your head resting on the floor. All right, now you're going to walk your hands over to the right-hand side of your mat, bringing a side bend into the left side of your body, and settle back down to the floor. Noticing the lengthening that's happening along your left side body, through your armpit, and possibly down your arm. Continuing with your full breaths, you'll probably notice that it's a little easier to breathe into the left side of your body where your rib cage is nice and open and lengthened, compared to the right side, which is a little more compressed at the moment. You're going to come up and walk those hands back to center, coming back into your original child's pose position, just for a couple of breath cycles, getting that spine back to its neutral space, feeling the rib cage expand equally, and then walk your hands over to the left-hand side of your mat. You may notice that this side feels more open than the other, or maybe you feel a stronger stretch on this side. Note that the breathing is easier now in the right side of your rib cage instead of the left. And we're going to walk our hands back to center again, once again returning to that original wide-legged child's pose. And noticing any changes that have happened now that you've done both sides. You're going to push back up into tabletop position and revisit just a couple of rounds of cat and cow, inhaling to cow, exhaling to cat at your own breathing rate. And now returning to a flat back, keeping the elbows straight but not locked, navel slightly lifted towards your spine. Let your chest lower towards the floor and move away from the floor, having the shoulder blades moving towards each other and away from each other. You're feeling for the connection and relationship between your shoulder blades and your back. Now, gently engaging through the core, toes curled under, lift your knees to hover off the ground about an inch, and then slowly lower back down to the floor. Notice what happened at the shoulder blades, the elbows, your abdomen. Lift and lower. Pay attention to any extra clenching, like your jaw, tension in your neck. Lift and lower. Returning to some body rocking, sending the hips back towards the heels and away. Flexion at the shoulder and the hips, extension at the shoulder and the hips, keeping the spine nice and neutral. Now we're going to begin to combine the two things we just did. So that nice hover in the knee, and once the knees are hovered, you're going to start to rock your body back. Your knees can stay quite bent. Pay attention that you're not locking out your elbows. And do what you can to keep your spine as quiet and neutral as possible. Lift, rock back, rock forward, drop the knees. Lift, rock back, rock forward, drop the knees. And one more time on this introductory transition into a downward dog. Take a break. Bring those knees wide apart, toes touching in the back, drop back down into your wide-legged child's pose. Return to your breath. Let your body sink down between your thighs. Let all that tension from that effort go. And just notice if your child's pose has changed between the beginning of your practice and now. You can stay here as long as you like, so long as it's comfortable on your knees and your body in general. But when you're ready, you can come up to sit. Take a nice couple deep grounding breaths and move on with your day.